There's an expression, painters like painting, but writers like having written. And I like that expression.
Yeah.
I also hate that expression.
Yeah.
Like, that's an expression that should not be true. That's a stupid expression to be
Right.
true.
Right.
If you are getting paid to write a book, that should be pleasurable.
Right.
And if it isn't, writing is not to blame. You are to blame.
Right.
And so I've tried to me, the Stoic idea, if I'm enduring this unpleasant, painful thing so that it's worth it getting paid at the end,
Right.
or hitting a list at the end,
Right.
or winning an award at the end,
Right.
then what I'm not doing is Stoicism, because that is what I'm saying. I'm doing all this stuff contingent on getting some other stuff that's
Right.
not in my control.
Right.
And by the way, if you know anything about any of the entertainment industries, you very rarely do people get what they deserve. In fact, you get fucked over a lot.
A lot.
And so that would be insane for me to torture myself for the low percentage chance of getting something that's not in my control. And so I have tried to work on sitting down and going like, I get to do this today.
Yes.
This is fun.
Yes.
The book that I am saving into Dropbox when I'm finished for the day, that's the book.
Right.
And so that like, actually I'm not writing like, so when I save my drafts, every day I save the draft as a new file with that date in it.
Sure.
So I have a tracking of, I can tell when, if I wake up one day and I think I went on the wrong course, I can just go back in time.
Right.
Or I can
need
find
to
out.
steal this from you instead of replacing the draft, which
Yeah.
I've been doing.
Also, if like a file gets corrupted,
Right,
or
sure.
some editor inserts something, I want to be able to know, like, okay, I was working on this when I was here on these dates, so I want to go back to that draft. So I say, but what I've come to see is that each one of those days is a complete book. So like, if I wrote today, sign that, save that draft, and then I got hit by a bus, that's the book.
Yeah.
Right. So an editor might work on it or whatever, but that's the book as far as I was able to finish on it.
Right.
And so I try to see every day as like a complete day. That's, I'm signing the book that day. It's done. And so it better have been, one, my best effort. Did I put everything in there?
Right.
And then two, it better have been worth it. Not, it was shitty and unpleasant, but it's all worth it for the album release party or whatever.
For this future cookie that may or may not arrive.
Yeah.
For me, I think there's something I because I write about it in that book too, about how writing is for me. It's tough, dude. Sure. Like at least nonfiction.
Yeah.
It's
well, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yes,
So of course it's hard.
There's a difference, I think, between difficult and awful.
Yes.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And
or difficult and miserable.
Yes.
Difficult is the level of skill required. Miserable is the mood.
Right. Yeah, 100%. You're talking about this stuff. Each day is a complete day. For me, I will say, as I got closer to the end of the book, and this is just my horrible catastrophizing end, I became increasingly aware of my own mortality.
Sure.
And I'm thinking, I have to at least get this in a place where if I die, the editor can take it and put it out, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, not that would make any difference to me now that I'm gone, but I think...
They don't send you a galley.
No, they don't send me a galley in wherever I'm going. But it was... I guess it was because I'm trying to write something of worth, something that could be of service to someone. Mm-hmm. I felt... This is important, man. I need to get this done. And I had these weird, like, I'd be driving. I'm like, pay attention. Yeah. Don't get in a car wreck right now. You have to finish this book.
No, I don't think that. It's like, I think about it like an athlete, right? Like, because athletes are just shrunken down versions of our own mortality arc, right? Because like you only get to play for so long, and it's much sooner. The body goes before the mind as an athlete, right? And so at some point you lace up for your last game. At some point it's your last season. And every athlete I've ever talked to wishes that they'd enjoyed playing more. They don't wish that they'd tried less hard, right? In some cases, maybe they wish they tried more, but like enjoying it doesn't mean you don't try at practice. It means you're just not bitching at practice.
Right.
You're grateful that you get to practice.
Yes.
Because you are aware of the ephemerality and the inevitability of this ending.
Yeah.
And so I kind of think about it that way. So it's like, it's still really hard. It's still really taxing. I'm still exhausted. I'm still never sure if it's good or not.
Right.
But day to day, I'm not allowing myself to say, woe is me. This sucks. I have
to sit at my desk and be a writer.
Yeah. And I also don't allow it to give me a pass on my other responsibilities as a human being, because like, this is just one of the things that I'm doing.
Right.
So I can't, the fact that I'm writing doesn't justify me shuffling around the house in a grouchy mood because I'm the tortured artist.
Right.
Like I just think the tortured put upon artist thing is bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's what you are putting on yourself. And you can not put it on yourself if you do the work to take it off.
It's a cultural mythos that is widespread, and I think a lot of artists worth their salt, if they mature enough, they realize the futility of this and the false nature of it. I mean, in my case, you're talking about the tortured artist. In my case, and in many of my friends, this sort of tortured artist identity manifested itself in a nice case of alcoholism or drug abuse.
Sure.
You know? Mm-hmm. And so then that's another component. And I look at some of these sort of bullshit I bought into as an angst-ridden young man, reading Bukowski, reading Hemingway, Hunter S. Thompson, Will Burroughs, all brilliant writers, right? And I'm sitting there reading this stuff and knowing about their lives because I'm fascinated by authors and doing a lot of the things these great writers did. I did a lot of drinking. I did a respectable amount of womanizing, got in a few fist fights even, did some wild shit. I'm doing all the things that the great writers are doing, with the exception of one major thing, that is writing. Right?
Sure.
I'm practicing to be a writer, I guess. And it wasn't until I got sober, at age 39, that I was able to sit down and write a book. It was a few years after that, but I had the sort of mental fortitude. Some people build careers while drunk writing. I don't know how they do it. I built a career as a lunatic singer. That was easier to do for me. But there's that aspect of just, it has to be miserable, like the dark artist. I think good art does require some friction,
of course,
to a degree, but I don't think that means you have to be just this miserable, horrible human being.
When the idea that this stuff is like conducive to the creative process, it's like Hunter S. Thompson was like a zombie for the last 20 years of his life, like in a creative desert of his own making.
Oh yes,
and
Hemingway blew his brains out.
Yeah, like it cost them and us like decades of good shit, and it turns out it wasn't like that. Like, is Kanye West a great musician because he's a raging egomaniac narcissist asshole? I don't think so. I think he's a great musician because he's a great musician.
He's a great musician.
Is Kyrie Irving a great basketball player because he's a wacko? No, he's a great basketball player who's a wacko.
Yeah.
And being a wacko has cost him and us a lot of great basketball. Yeah. Like, I have to imagine that actually Kanye West is very objective and clear-headed when he's doing music. It's probably the only place he's sane.
Yeah.
Because you can't make great shit out of your mind.
No.
Like, I think people totally learn the wrong lesson. Steve Jobs was an asshole who was also a great CEO and leader.
Right.
And those were disconnected parts of himself. And one often got in the way of the good parts of the self.
For sure.